maybe should negotiate those contracts or just want to learn some best practices from other practitioners out there.
Yeah.
So that would be a community of interest, companies, large companies, Fortune 500 that have mastered outsourcing. So now you're at this next level. We're at, I mean, a very sophisticated level. So, and we can help others too, but we want to deal with companies that are also pretty sophisticated,
of course,
and get to that next, right? And how do you now automate using RPA some of these services so you can continue to, squeeze out some more savings. So,
yes.
And you have to be a little more advanced to be able to have that conversation. That's one.
Yeah.
The other one might be just G Suite. I'm making it up, right? Just sort of like who is global with G Suite. Most people have 365. I mean, majority of companies, 365. We were early adopters. We were part of five companies on G Suite globally. That's it.
Yep.
We're really pretty advanced with this thing. So I want to make sure that when I say, we have a topic within outsourcing, we can immediately get 5 or 10 CIOs or their leaders at the table. So I want to build out my ecosystem.
Yes. So I'm so thrilled you're saying this. One of several things that we do, which was not highlighted specifically, so I'm particularly glad you brought this up in the proposal. We have collected for all of our members, and as a reminder, you saw the pictures, but CIOs of Vanguard, Boeing, Union Pacific, Pfizer, Marsh & McLennan, Lenovo.
Oh yeah.
The CIO of Lenovo spends half his every month in Beijing and half his month in the U.S. Western Digital, again, another big multinational with a lot of China stuff. In fact, the two of them led a session over a dinner we had with our team, just like on China policy, which was utterly fascinating. Estee Lauder. So, big, truly peer companies, revenue-wise and scale-wise to your own, as well as truly like international companies also. It's not like these are mom and pop shops. So number one, that's the case. Number two, what we began doing, that this was new for 2019, in January, we polled our members and basically collected information on their tech stack. For CRM, what do you use? For, ERP, what do you use? For outsourcing, who are some of the key players and so on, for exactly the reason that you have described. So if you want to know, are we the only one among a group of, 20 Fortune 500 CIOs that's using G Suite, or are we, or half of them using it? For those who thought about it and decided not to, what were the decision criteria, right? What is the one that like 15 of them are using right now? And what does that tell me? And maybe I should speak with a few of them about why they're on Office 365 and not G Suite. So that you can inform that decision. And then, facilitating conversations with the relevant people or polling them as necessary to get the specific answers to the questions that you want. So that's, one of the things we're doing that we did in 2019 is that in 2020, we're looking to actually, get a little bit further into that sort of benchmarking aspect of this, of, polling this now statistically significant group for information about like, how do you organize? And do you have a CIO, a CDO, CTO? What roles exist within your organizations and who is, subordinate to whom? Again, the sort of outsourcing mix. Getting to some, what is your international footprint? So you can understand, okay, who is everyone in this group that does have an operation in China, who doesn't? So we're going to do a lot more of that diagnosis so that we can very rapidly help any of our members who have a question like the ones you've described get to exactly the right people for those conversations. And if it's, I'm sorry, please.
So that's helpful because a lot of us get invited to lunch. I can have dinner out every night, right?
Of course you can.
These vendors always, lunches. And I don't really like to do that because it takes away from the family time. So
of course, yeah.
It's using our time. It's really using our time wisely. Get invited to a lot of these, sponsored events where you bring CIOs together from different companies. But what do you really have in common? Okay, yeah, you're all IT leaders, IT practitioners, but what are the important topics what are important to you? There's moments in time I just have really important topics that I want to pick other people's brains, and I'll sit at a conference, right?
Yeah.
And I'll ask Gartner or CV, and they have a hard time sometimes finding the right people. It's like you're only as good as your network.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
So that's intriguing. Yeah.
Yeah. Number one, that kind of information we absolutely provide. I don't want to cast aspersions against either CEB or Gartner, great organizations. And it sounds like you have a pretty good partner with you. That seems to be the real determinant as to whether or not people get value out of them or not. We've got one of the things we polled our members on, maybe 18 months ago was their use of these actually at the behest of one of the members. And we had this intriguing conversation about who prefers Gartner to Forrester. How many of you are actually increasing your budgets with them versus decreasing? What are the reasons behind that? Just to give you a little bit of insight into that, most of them were actually decreasing them. And part of the issue was as they get larger, there's a lot more variability to the quality of the insights they're getting from them. That was just, that wasn't universal. There were some that absolutely swear by them, but nevertheless, those were some of the conclusions. Then secondly, I would say, of course, we have these gatherings 3 times a year, East Coast, middle country, West Coast, opportunities for, collaboration, really kind of tight collaboration within the group, each of them asking strategic questions of the rest of the group, which are literally anything from like, how are you using AI to, I feel like I'm locked in with AWS. How many of you have a concern about lock-in for, cloud services, et cetera? It's things that are very like strategic to one company or another. And that's the reason why we don't have any two from the same industry. And then I think one of the things we're going to incorporate into this for 2020 is potentially a 4th gathering, which will be a kind of, think of it as, in fact, it sounds like you were recently on one of these, but a safari through Silicon Valley. So morning, afternoon over 2 days for at least 4 VCs curated to the topics and ideas of greatest interest to our members. And, anyway, I think the key value in this is the power of our network. But I like to think also, Nick, I mean, you be the judge and, you can certainly ask others who know us both, that, I think part of it also is, ours is a firm that gets really into the strategic knitting of a lot of CIOs. It's not just that we know them, but we also know how they operate. We've, in some cases, helped them develop their strategies and so on. So our ability to get to peel back the onion on your needs, I think, I won't say it's unique. That's way too grandiose, but I think it's, hopefully unusual, at least for an organization of our size.
That's right, because you're also building, you have the consulting side of it, which is you're providing, and you help. I mean, a lot of what you do on the consulting side, is it pretty much IT strategy? Is that at the forefront of it?
Indeed. So literally helping design and develop new strategies or enhancing existing strategies, and then a variety of things that are kind of a concentric circle or two around that. We're doing a lot of digital transformation in the many forms that takes. We're doing a lot of work right now in the sort of project to product to outcome journey for IT departments. Okay. We're doing a lot in the kind of assessment and analysis of business capabilities across enterprises and IT's role in kind of driving those forward. So just to name a few different topics that are related to strategy that we're getting very involved in as well.
Yeah, the advantage of being part of this community is also I'll get more exposure to what Metis is also all about too. I mean, I haven't used Metis in that fashion before, so it can help me get some more exposure to it. Yeah.
That's right. And naturally, where you've got like a need, I mean, as part of this membership, I want to be be very clear about this. You'd have access to at least, conversation, insight, and analysis from our broader firm as well as part of this package. I'm not, so absolutely right. There's a level of depth there that I think you would hopefully find very satisfying. So, I mean,
exactly.
And then I'll say the last thing, I may have mentioned this to you last time, Nick, but I want to repeat it again because I think this is really the key. One of the reasons why we've had almost zero attrition, except in those situations where people left the CIO role, they've gone to become consultants or retired. That those are really the only cases where people from our founding group on who have left the group. And one of the reasons why it's been so sticky is we really have also curated this towards really great people, not just people of accomplishment. It's the advantage of now having a couple of decades of spending time with CIOs and having, I guess, one of the bigger networks, I would say, out there among CIOs is, we could certainly develop a group like this by just taking the Fortune 500 and going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until we have the numbers we want. But the real advantage we have is we have an enormous network where we know really what good looks like. And so if you can have people with equal measure IQ and EQ, people who like to speak, but also are very good at listening, people that are willing to tell the glorious story, but also be a little bit vulnerable in front of their peers. That's the magic that really makes this sticky. And so I think the thing that you probably enjoy most about this is just the quality of the individuals who are there and your ability to ask really get into the knitting of how each of their operations operate.
No, it sounds really intriguing. It does sound different. I mean, now that you explain, because one thing you read on paper, but now as you're walking through, it does seem unique. I'm trying to compare it to what Avery Dennison has purchased over the years, and some of these contracts are coming to a close as well. I think the CIO one is actually the end of this month, so they've been chomping at the bit to get that renewed. And I'm just kind of like, well, maybe it's time to change it up a little bit, and so let me bring in. So a couple of things that are going through my mind. One,